More in the way of sunshine to come. A fairly settled day actually for eastern areas. A very different story though for northern Scotland, where this rain will turn to snow over the highest ground. Further south, a mixture of sunshine and showers, particularly across the west, but more in the way of drier weather to come on Wednesday compared to today. And as a result, temperatures will climb to the double digits, 10 or 11 degrees across southwestern areas. See you soon.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for making us the fastest growing news website in the nation. Because the truth matters, and so do you.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. In North Yorkshire on the A64 eastbound between Tadcaster West and the A1237 near York South, expect 30-minute delays today. In Worcestershire, a collision on the M42 northbound between junctions 2 and 3 has closed one lane, with conditions normalising by 10:15 this morning. In Surrey, near the M25 anti-clockwise exit at junction 13, a breakdown has blocked one lane, expected to clear by 9:45 this morning. And on the trains, expect major disruption on Thameslink services between London St Pancras International and London Bridge, and Avanti West Coast services between London Euston and Watford Junction. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Martin Daubney, weekdays from 3 p.m.
Now, funeral directors have warned that coffins are becoming too large to be cremated as Britain's obesity crisis simply balloons. Wider caskets, extra pallbearers and bigger furnaces are now being used, with the industry saying that the rising size of the population is creating serious challenges. Well, experts now predict an estimated 3.3 million cases of adult excess weight by 2040, and it's having a huge impact on the funeral director's business. Let's speak to one now. I'm joined by the funeral director, Lee Solomon. Lee, thanks for joining us on the show. So people are now becoming too fat to fry, and you've had to come up with a novel solution to this problem.
Well, I wouldn't say it's a novel solution. If someone comes into our care and they are a larger person, then we do get a larger coffin manufactured for them. So when they come into our care, one of the first things that we do is we measure the size of our residents, and if they are a larger person, we do what we class as a bariatric coffin, which is a larger size coffin, which we get made to measure for them. If a family comes into our care and says, oh, we want our loved one to have their service at Yardley, but they're larger than 29 inches, they'd have to have their service at Yardley brought back into our care, taken to Sutton, where the cremation would happen.
So supersized coffins are sent to Sutton because they can fit into the crematorium. Am I correct in saying, Lee Solomon, that sometimes you've bolted two coffins together to get one supersized cadaver inside?
We've never gone to. I've never done that myself. I don't know about other funeral directors, but we get all of our coffins manufactured to the size of the person, so they're made to measure.
GB News, the People's Channel.
All too often, people will be sitting at home watching a press conference live, and they'll hear loads of questions being asked, and they'll be thinking, that's not my question, that's not my concern.
We don't care whose feathers we ruffle. We ask the questions that you want answering.
You're all standing on the street protesting and want to have an open discussion?
My name is Patrick Christie's. I do a show for GB News in the UK. Is it possible to talk to you quickly?
Journalism in this country has been a cosy world full of groupthink until now.
Well, this is the best view ever of Whitehall, looking out across all the tractor drivers of England who've come together to make their point.
Hello, so as you can see, I'm here in Westminster as the protest begins.
Yes, I'm very much in the thick of it.
Look, we're challenging narratives here at GB News, and that's what sets us apart.
Good morning to you. It's 9:30 on Tuesday, the 2nd of December, live across the UK. Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
Well, is this the man to restore justice to Britain?
Everything I'm announcing today is about centering victims in our criminal justice system.
Yes, the Justice Secretary David Lammy will only use jury trials for the most serious crimes as he sets out his measures to tackle the court backlog.
And I'm afraid there's another jail fell for Lammy as it's revealed 12 further prisoners have been accidentally released. Where are they and who are they?
I am clear that no transformation today carries greater consequence than the rise of China.
Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer warns that China poses real national security threats to the United Kingdom, but claims it would be a dereliction of duty not to engage with the Chinese.
Let me start with an apology. A link to our economic and fiscal outlook document went live on our website too early this morning and was subsequently removed. We apologise to the Chancellor, members of Parliament for this technical error.
Rachel Reeves dodges a bullet as the head of the fiscal watchdog. The Office of Budget Responsibility is forced out as the Chancellor battles on to save her political career. Chief Secretary to the Treasury, James Murray, is standing by his boss.
The Chancellor has been honest and consistent with the public in everything she has said.
My dad, unfortunately, had to lose his life before the police took any action.
The daughter of a murdered dog walker hits out at police, saying her father's death could have been prevented. 80-year-old Bim Coley was brutally killed by teenagers at his local park in Leicestershire.
And stateside, the White House is launching a Media Offender of the Week section on its website to call out what they call fake news media. The Independent newspaper is on the wall of shame. Will the BBC be next to follow?
These people should be forced to do 2 days a week, voluntary, litter picking, cleaning graffiti off the walls, anything like that. And if they don't receive a penny.
Well, that's Don Daniels. He's a bricklayer from Yorkshire, and he's gone viral for his damning posts about living in benefits Britain after the Chancellor's budget. He'll be joining us live on the show.
It's the simplicity of Don's message, which is why it's gone viral. He just says he'd like to slow down, he'd like to do less work, but he can't because people on benefits need him. Because we are paying for people on benefits.
And he's got these videos of him laying bricks in the snow, in the wind and the rain, saying, I can't stop, people are relying on me, kind of making a joke out of it, but also a really, really important, serious point that lots of people are doing hard jobs outside for lots of tax. They're paying lots of tax.
And of course the Chancellor in her budget last week, not only did she put big swinging tax increases, she massively increased the welfare bill. And yet the Prime Minister said yesterday he wants to reform the welfare bill, but still they won't say whether they want to cut it.
Yeah. But it's going to be interesting speaking to him because I think his story is that he wasn't interested in politics. He posted videos about bricklaying, trying to get people into the industry, but now he's realised the state of affairs, how the economy works. He wants to kind of wake people up.
He was a Labour voter or a Labour sympathiser.
That's right, yeah.
I wonder if he's edging more to a different party, possibly one led by Nigel Farage. We'll ask him.
We will.
As ever, we'd like to know what you think. Send your views and post your comments by visiting
gbnews.com/your say. But first, here's your 60-second news update with Sam Francis.
Very good morning to you. 9:33, the top story this hour. David Lammy is set to scale back the number of jury trials as part of major reforms to clear court backlogs. Magistrates could soon hand down sentences of up to 18 months, possibly 24. And a new judge-only division of the Crown Court will handle cases carrying up to 3 years in jail. Juries, though, stay for the most serious crimes. And that comes as David Lammy has this morning admitted 2 prisoners are still at large following a spike in accidental releases. 12 inmates have been wrongly freed in just 3 weeks, on top of the 91 earlier this year. He says human error in paper-based systems are to blame until prisons finally go digital. Critical week for Ukrainian peace talks. Vladimir Putin will meet US envoy Steve Witkoff in Moscow. Kyiv insists sovereignty isn't up for negotiation, warning tough issues remain. New laws this week will give immigration enforcement sweeping new powers, including searching phones, coats, and even inside mouths for hidden SIM cards. It's all aimed at tackling the people smuggling gangs behind channel crossings. And UK airports are bracing for the busiest Christmas getaway ever. More than 22 million passengers expected this month, with Heathrow alone handling over 7 million travellers. Those are the headlines. I'll be back with you for a full roundup at 10.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Hello, good morning and welcome. You're watching and listening to Britain's Newsroom. We're live across the United Kingdom on GB News with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
So the Justice Secretary has confirmed that report from some time ago that he will scrap jury trials, not all of them, but quite a number of them, as part of efforts to tackle the backlog in court cases.
Well, this is because there's a record high backlog of these Crown Court cases, which is more than now 78,000 cases yet to be decided.
But just remember, this is David Lammy, who just 5 years ago tweeted, "Jury trials are a fundamental part of our democratic settlement. Criminal trials without juries are a bad idea."
Well, let's take a listen to the Justice Secretary now.
Everything I'm announcing today is about centering victims in our criminal justice system. It is unacceptable that if you are raped in our country tonight, that you might be waiting until 2028, 2029 for a hearing. And I'm determined to do something about it.
Now, David Lammy's written a piece, I think, in the Telegraph today, Andrew, hitting back at critics who are saying that he's going against the Magna Carta, which, of course, is when jury trials were settled. And he points out that it also says in the Magna Carta that justice must be delivered swiftly. And we've now got people waiting 2 or 3 years for their cases to come to trial, which isn't fair either.
Sure. But he also, but the Magna Carta was about King John, who was a particularly unpleasant monarch, who was taxing, plundering the poor, frankly. The barons standing up to the king's overweening power, which gave us the system of jury trials. But I get that there's a backlog in cases, but don't sacrifice the principle of jury trials because of that. Find another way. When he was in opposition, Lammy said there are a lot of public buildings that are empty, that could be commandeered for trials. So get on with it, do it. And also, I used to cover court cases as a young reporter. You never see a judge arriving in court before 10:30.
Yes.
They break for lunch and they finish at 4. Hello? Why?
Maybe
Sometimes
they
a
get
4
up
day
really early
week.
and read.
Well, maybe that, but and magistrates were pretty similar. They often started at 10 o'clock. Look, the cogs of justice are moving too slowly, but I think if he even gets this through the Commons, Miriam, when it gets to the House of Lords, it will be torn asunder by the serried ranks of lawyers, retired judges who just will not put up with it.
And one of people's concerns is about these free speech cases, because they won't be classified as the serious crimes that would still be tried by juries. And we know that a lot of judges would probably find against those people who have exercised their rights to free speech, whereas a jury might throw out the same trial. But one of the points that David Lammy makes in this piece is that the reason that the Magna Carta was signed was because of state failure. I don't think that's true. I think it was because of state overreach. It was about abuse of power, and that's exactly what people fear if this move goes through.
Because the king was almost, there was no such thing as gunpoint in those days, but bow and arrow point, perhaps.
Yes, or hung you
he
without
was
trial.
forced to sign the Magna Carta. Now, just a reminder, friends of GB News can vote in today's You Decide poll. You scan the QR code now, and we're asking, is scrapping juries a price worth paying for swift justice? So, Miriam, I think there's already an indication of where it's going.
Yes, 6% say yes, 94% say no. Any politician would be happy with that result, I think.
Yet again, you just wonder why the Labour Party, the Labour government, are just picking a fight on the wrong side of public opinion, when I suspect this will unravel.
Indeed. Well, let's ask the former Attorney General, Sir Michael Ellis, who joins us now. Sir Michael, thank you so much for joining us at the show. Now,
morning.
whatever the criticisms of David Lammy, he is right that there is a severe backlog in the court system that is causing justice to be delayed.
Well, Miriam, the fact of the matter is that this is another mastermind decision from David Lammy. The reason for the delays, the reason for the backlog in our court system has got nothing to do with juries, literally nothing to do with it.
That's right.
Juries will add a few hours to the average case, perhaps a day at most, for their deliberations in the average Crown Court jury trial, which lasts 2 or 3 days. What's causing years of delay are empty courts because of underfunding, courtrooms that are not able to function because they're in dilapidated court buildings, judges that aren't able to sit because there isn't the funding allocated to the judiciary to sit on various days, and the increasing complexity of court cases, because unlike in previous decades, you now have vast amounts of digital data. Everyone has a mobile phone with an encyclopedia of data on it that all has to be trawled through in many of these cases. So what actually causes the delay has nothing to do with juries. If David Lammy actually bothered to ask anyone who works in the Crown Court system, they would perhaps find out that that's the case. So this is a grotesque infringement of our fundamental rights. Rights, by the way, that, as you've been saying, far predate the Human Rights Act and ECHR and all that sort of thing. How is it that this Labour government, Andrew and Miriam, is able to say, well, we can't touch ECHR because it's fundamental to the rule of law, and that's only been around for 2 or 3 decades, but they want to interfere with an 800-year-old principle of jury trials, and that isn't to do with the rule of law? Well, clearly, they're talking nonsense.
Why? You see, I'm glad you've raised these points, Mike, because I just was racking my brains thinking, why is he proposing this? It's unpopular, and as you're making the point, it's not practical, and it will make no difference anyway.
It won't make any difference to the delays. There are unconscionable delays in the court system, that is true, and it shouldn't be the case that cases take years to arrive in court. That puts incredible stress on witnesses, it puts unfair stress on defendants and all the rest of it. So justice delayed is justice denied. No one wants delays of 2, 3, 4 years. But it isn't anything to do with juries. Juries just add a few hours to the average case, maybe a day at most. There are years before, sometimes 2 years before the police decide whether to charge someone. It can then be another couple of years before a case gets into court, partly because the Crown Prosecution Service are taking so long to decide to prosecute and to collate all of the evidence. And that's partly because of the digital reasons that I said. So this really is an irrational decision from this government. And it isn't just about delays. It's also about the fact that there will be a cost to this, a cost in justice, a cost in the reputation of this country. We've already got the Americans, haven't we, saying that what about what's happening to free speech rights in the UK? Now they're going to be saying, what on earth is happening to the fundamental principle of juries, which they got from us and which we're now seeking to abandon. And, you know, Andrew and Miriam, the fact is that about 95% of cases right now are heard by the magistrates anyway. It's less than 5% that are in front of a jury. So that's not the reason for the delays. We've got empty courtrooms, and we need an injection of common sense in many of these cases. And the juries do that, in my experience. And I prosecuted and defended, Andrew, I don't know whether you as a young reporter covered any of my cases, but, well, you still are a young...
Good recovery, Michael.
But the fact is that, you know, they inject common sense into a lot of decisions where previously the decision might have been taken to prosecute, you know, in a way that the juries find unfair. And we've seen that in some recent social media cases, haven't we, where juries have robustly thrown cases out where perhaps technically there was enough evidence to convict, but juries have taken the view, no, thank you, we don't want to do that. The other thing they haven't thought about, this government, is that without juries, they will get more convictions. And if they get more people found guilty, they're going to put more pressure on the prison estate, which is already breaking apart and collapsing under the strain of underinvestment. And so they'll be robbing Peter to pay Paul and going to have to invest more money in the prison system to cater for more prisoners. So all around, this is absolutely the wrong decision. And I do hope that Parliament, I'm sure the House of Lords will give it a short shrift. But,
well, I was going to ask you about that, Sir Michael, because the House of Lords, they're just going to chuck this out. It's not in the manifesto. There's no manifesto commitment to this. It's come out of nowhere, this policy idea from Lammy.
Absolutely right, Andrew. This is a fundamental thing that ought to really be in a manifesto. It wasn't even mentioned. It's something that the House of Lords will recognise as an essential part of this island nation's history, that we actually exported around the world and that people around the world greatly value, in democracies anyway, not so highly valued in autocracies and dictatorships. But the jury system really works. And people who have actually appeared before juries to prosecute and defend cases recognise that. We've got to recognise that there are fundamental rights that governments don't actually have a right to interfere with, especially when they're getting it wrong anyway, the rationale being completely erroneous that it's going to reduce delays. It won't.
Really interesting, Sir Michael. A very impressive denunciation of the Lammy plan. Thank you so much. That's the former Attorney General, Sir Michael Ellis, who was, of course, part of the last government. That was pretty compelling, wasn't it?
It was. And you do wonder if speeding up the court backlog is not the motivation for doing this, then what is?
Yeah, what is it? I just also think he's picking a fight that he probably can't win with public opinion.
Yeah.
And probably a lot of his own backbenchers.
And the interesting point that this may result in more convictions, therefore more pressure on the prisons, which of course is another pressure point for David Lammy. So maybe he might think twice, as you said.
Still ahead.
The viral bricklayer from Yorkshire, Don Daniels, will join us as he takes aim at benefit scroungers who he says are choosing to sit on their backsides rather than get a job.
And up next, the Prime Minister holds his weekly cabinet meeting this morning. Will the daggers be out for him and the Chancellor? And what about the two cabinet ministers who were quoted in the papers yesterday saying she misled them, the Chancellor?
Well, first of all, if you're in search of some holiday sun, here's the forecast for some of our top European destinations.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there. If you're planning on escaping the rain this week, well, unfortunately, there's still some rain affecting the parts of the Mediterranean. High pressure, though, in the Canaries, bringing plenty of dry weather to Madeira, 17 degrees here. Plenty of dry weather also across Spain and Portugal, as well as southern areas of France. However, this wet weather is still moving into parts of Greece, bringing some showers to Santorini through the rest of this week. Looking elsewhere, it does look drier and warmer by the weekend.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
But this is story. It's one of these stories. I love these flags, don't you? Doesn't everybody love our flag? Isn't it a wonderful, bright, brilliant, colourful representation of this wonderful, most of the time, country we live in, or not? Certainly not in Scarborough, evidently, because a Scarborough businessman says he has been left disgusted after being fined more than £2,300 for erecting England and Union flags in North Yorkshire. William Haylett used his cherry-picking, see on your screen there, his cherry-picking vans, which are normally used for high-level property maintenance, to string up flags across the town, along with tying England and Union flags to lampposts across Filey and Whitby. Sounds great to me. Or is it? We've seen this pretty much all summer, haven't we, where councils have taken down flags. These flags, these lovely, bright, colourful ones, But many councils have left flags of other countries up, in particular the Palestine one.
You know, our town's just been down and depressed for, you know, a couple of years now. And it's upsetting to see, you know, local people, you know, struggling and all that lot, and just down and depressed.
What reaction have you got from the local community, from people living where you've been putting your flags up?
Oh, it's just absolutely, everyone's just they're just giving up. Do you know what I mean? Seriously giving up. And what it is, you know, I've got to root. I've been out every night, you know, digging deep into root at community, and it's just like we've been failed through every system going, and now we've just had enough, man. Do you know what I mean? It's upsetting, you know. It makes me, makes me really upset.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun. No, he didn't say that, Dave. I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. 9 minutes to 10. You're watching and listening to Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Well, it's the weekly cabinet meeting today. Now, I owe to be a fly in the wall of that one, Miriam, because it's been a torrid week since the budget, and pretty unprecedented to have a budget unravel quite so quickly, so fast. And yesterday, the Times, particularly newspaper, had two unnamed cabinet ministers criticising the Chancellor for misleading the Cabinet and Parliament. Pretty serious stuff. So the Chancellor and the Prime Minister will be in that Cabinet meeting, looking around the room thinking, which two...
Who are the traitors? Who are the faithful?
And one of the websites today is suggesting a lot of Cabinet Ministers are blaming Ed Miliband, the Climate Change Secretary. You remember he's had his wings clipped quite a lot on green taxes. So he's a bit put out.
I'm not a fan of these anonymous briefings. I think if you've got something to say, you should have the courage to own it. I think it's underhand.
It is. But it's gone on for years, though.
Yeah.
Let's talk to political commentator Paul Connor, who's spent many years in newspapers, and newspapers often carry stories based on anonymous briefings. Paul, to be a fly on the wall, that Cabinet is going to be uncomfortable because the level of briefing against the Chancellor, in particular, from within their own side, has been pretty intense.
Indeed, although I'm a sort of far from uncritical Labour supporter, my own column coming out in a couple of days will be arguing that Rachel Reeves should resign. So that won't make me very popular either.
No. Why would you say that, Paul? Because she misled Parliament? Because she misled the country?
Exactly. I think that, I mean, there's a semantic argument about whether she lied, but I certainly think misleading is undoubtedly the case. I mean, if Armando Iannucci had written this as a thick of it script, no one would believe it. It's beyond the satire.
Paul, what are the implications for this, though, in the Cabinet meeting today? Because the Prime Minister will have an agenda of lots of different policy discussions that he wants to have. Do you think this will be underlying, though, every conversation?
It'll certainly hang heavy in the air there. I mean, I haven't spoken to cabinet ministers on this, but I have spoken to other minister contacts who feel that that there has been a, shall we say, a betrayal of, or keeping them in the dark at the very least, and they aren't happy about the way it's been mishandled. I think one thing, though, that may be a relief or may not be is Richard Hughes, the outgoing head of the OBR, isn't appearing as scheduled today before the Treasury Select Committee. But he will now be a free agent, and I'm sure he'll be in media demand to try to get him to talk. Whether he
Paul,
does or
I'm
not
so sorry. We are going to have to cut in there because we've reached the end of the hour.
And still ahead, another jail cell for the Prison Secretary, David Lammy. 12 more inmates have been released by accident. Is he the man to fix the justice system? This is Britain's Newsroom.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption.
Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. Now, although today will be a drier day, there's still a fair few blustery showers on the way for many western areas. Some sunshine in between, and we've got off to a pretty bright start across the east, and there will be more sunshine on the way for many eastern areas. Further west, though, you can see a plethora of showers moving in from the Atlantic. Some of these will really pack a punch, bringing a risk of hail and thunder, particularly to the south and west. But notice some very heavy showers across the northwest too. Now, temperatures are a degree or so cooler than yesterday, but it will feel that much more pleasant, particularly in any sheltered sunshine across the east. Now, the winds will be quite strong, particularly across northwestern areas close to this small area of low pressure. So that brings an unsettled evening to parts of the Highlands and the Western Isles in particular, where we'll continue to see these showers moving in through this evening. Eastern areas of Scotland, the central belt, seeing plenty of dry weather, some clearer skies developing through this evening, as well as across Northern Ireland. The temperatures will start to fall away. Still quite a lot of cloud around for many central and southern areas of England and Wales, and a number of showers still yet to move through on Tuesday evening. They could come further inland across eastern areas for a time, but overnight tonight it will become clearer and drier for many areas. There will still be a number of showers, particularly across coastal areas, western coasts of the UK. So here there'll be more cloud, will be frost-free, but inland sheltered areas could see a touch of frost by Wednesday morning. So a cooler start to the day on Wednesday than today, but more in the way of sunshine to come. A fairly settled day actually for eastern areas. A very different story though for northern Scotland, where this rain will turn to snow over the highest ground. Further south, a mixture of sunshine and showers, particularly across the west, but more in the way of drier weather to come on Wednesday compared to today. And as a result, temperatures will climb to the double digits, 10 or 11 degrees across southwestern areas. See you soon.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on.
Thank you, Britain, for our more than 2 million YouTube subscribers and more than 2 billion views. That is Britain watching, sharing and making its voice heard louder than ever before.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. There's a vehicle restriction on the A90 northbound near St Mado's due to a breakdown. On the M4 westbound, heavy congestion is noted between junctions 25 and 26. The M6 northbound is experiencing delays from a collision, resulting in one lane closing, expected to clear by 10:30. Meanwhile, the M25 anti-clockwise has significant delays as 2 lanes are shut, following an incident between junctions 26 and 25, likely affecting traffic flow until 11:30. Additionally, major disruptions are reported on Thameslink and Avanti West Coast rail services. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
It's the greatest cash prize of a Great British giveaway so far. A simply stunning £85,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like, making 2026 your greatest year to date. That could get you that brand new car, extend and improve your home, take you away on that bucket list holiday, or just give you some peace of mind over the coming months. For a chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. It's 10 o'clock on Tuesday, the 2nd of December. We are live across the United Kingdom. This is Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
David Lammy's justice reforms incoming.
If you are raped in our country tonight, that you might be waiting until 2028, 2029 for a hearing.
So Lammy will overturn 800 years of tradition to allow jury trials for any of the most serious cases. He says this will tackle the court backlog and restore justice for victims.
And another jail fail for Lammy. It's revealed that 12 further prisoners have been accidentally released.
These people should be forced to do 2 days a week, voluntary, litter picking, cleaning graffiti off the walls, anything like that. And if they don't receive a penny.
That's Don Daniels, the bricklayer from Yorkshire. He's gone viral for his posts about people living in Benefits Britain after the Chancellor's budget. And we're delighted he's joining us soon.
I am clear that no transformation today carries greater consequence than the rise of China.
Well, that's the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer. He's warning that China poses real national security threats to the United Kingdom. But he claims it would be a dereliction of duty not to engage with the Chinese.
Let me start with an apology. A link to our economic and fiscal outlook document went live on our website too early this morning and was subsequently removed. We apologise to the Chancellor, members of Parliament for this technical error.
Sounds like listening to a machine gun. Spoke so fast. Rachel Reeves has dodged that bullet because the head of the fiscal watchdog, the OBR, he's been forced out of his job for inadvertently leaking her budget speech. She deliberately leaked most of her budget speech and keeps her job.
My dad, unfortunately, had to lose his life before the police took any action.
Well, that's the daughter of a murdered dog walker who's hit out police, saying her father's death could have been prevented. 80-year-old Bim Coley was brutally killed by teenagers at his local park in Leicestershire last year.
And stateside, the White House is launching a Media Offender of the Week section on its website to call out what they call is fake news media. The Independent is already on the wall of shame. When will the BBC be there?
Now, earlier in the show, we were talking to Sir Michael Ellis, former Attorney General, and he was saying about these jury reforms that actually it wouldn't speed up the backlog at all. So what is the motivation for getting rid of juries on these trials?
He completely demolished Lammy's entire argument. He points out that a lot of court buildings are dilapidated and can't be used, and the jury...
They're empty a lot of the time.
Yeah, they're empty a lot of the time. And the jury itself, he said, probably has 1 day max to a trial. And yet it's the most important principle that we are tried by 12 good men and true, as the saying used to be. And I think Lammy's picking a fight that he can't win because this will be crushed in the House of Lords.
Absolutely. But it does highlight just how long people are waiting for cases to come to trial. 80,000 outstanding cases, up, I think, by 40 or 50,000 just on a few years ago.
The other point he made, which was a really good point, Miriam, he pointed out now how much longer the cases are because there's so much more evidence because of people's mobile phones. They are a treasure trove of information, facts and figures, and the police have to go through the whole thing, and all of that adds to the length of the trial.
Yes, looking where you've been, who you've texted at a particular time. just a lot more information.
And that's nothing, again, to do with juries. Anyway, we must not surrender the principle of jury trials because this government and the previous government couldn't get the court service in order.
No, absolutely. Well, hopefully we can rely on the House of Lords, but we'd love to know what you think. Send your views, post your comments by visiting
GBNews.com/you'll say, but first the headlines with Sam Francis.
Very good morning to you. Just after 10 o'clock. Well, the top story this hour, Justice Secretary David Lammy expected to unveil major changes to tackle court backlogs, including a significant reduction in the number of jury trials. For either way offences, defendants will no longer be able to opt for a jury if magistrates say they can hear the case. And appeals will now require approval from a judge before reaching the Crown Court. Magistrates' sentencing powers will rise from 12 to 18 months with the option of going up to 24 months. And a new jury-free division of the Crown Court will hear cases carrying sentences of up to 3 years, overseen by just a single judge. But juries will still be used for the most serious offences, typically those likely to receive 5 years or more. Well, David Lammy has said that axing jury trials will help victims and tackle the backlog in courts.
Everything I'm announcing today is about centering victims in our criminal justice system. It is unacceptable that if you are raped in our country tonight, that you might be waiting until 2028, 2029 for a hearing. And I'm determined to do something about it.
Well, Shadow Chancellor Sir Mel Stride says that David Lammy's plan to scrap jury trials is the wrong decision.
To dismiss the centuries-long situation where we've had jury trials as hanging on to tradition is a little bit perverse. I think it's a very, very important element of maintaining confidence in our judicial system. And there is an alternative to what he's doing, and that is to not be spending an extra £16 billion on benefits for people who are not in work, but actually putting perhaps some of that resource into speeding up and extending the period over which courts sit so we can get through this backlog.
Well, the Justice Secretary has also this morning revealed that a dozen prisoners have been mistakenly released in just the past month and 2 are still on the run. David Lammy says the pair at large are not violent or sexual offenders, but won't give further details while police prepare their arrests. It comes after a series of blunders across the prison estate, including the wrongful release of the convicted sex offender Brahim Kadur Sharif and the case of Hadush Kabatu, whose mistaken release sparked protests in Essex. Lammy says stronger security checks are now in place, calling the early signs a downward trend, but admits there remains, in his words, a mountain to climb to fix the system. A major push towards ending the Ukraine war is underway, with Vladimir Putin set to meet the US Special Envoy Steve Witkoff in Moscow today. That's as Washington says it's very optimistic about a possible peace deal. Witkoff and Jared Kushner have spent 2 days in Florida refining a US-backed proposal, one that Kyiv has called constructive but says tough issues remain, especially over territory Russia wants Ukraine to surrender. The talks come as Moscow claims new battlefield gains, claims Ukraine hasn't confirmed, though. And ahead of today's summit, the White House says the draft plan has been very much refined, but insists negotiators must now work through the most difficult sticking points. And here at home, new immigration laws are set to receive royal assent this week will hand immigration enforcement officers unprecedented powers to target people smuggling gangs. For the first time, officers will be able to order illegal migrants to remove coats, jackets or gloves at UK ports to search for phones and even inspect inside someone's mouth for hidden SIM cards or micro devices. The Home Office says the aim is to seize crucial early-stage intelligence, including messages between smugglers and migrants to help disrupt the criminal networks driving channel crossings. Those are the latest headlines. I'll be back with you for a 60-second update in half an hour.
Hello, good morning. Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom. We're live across the United Kingdom on GB News with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates. Now, let's see what you've been saying on gbnews.com/your say. Lots of chat about David Lammy's proposed reforms.
Dreadful man.
Most people aren't particularly fans of it.
I don't think anybody will be, Miriam.
No.
I haven't heard anybody apart from Lammy saying it's a good idea.
Judges? I wonder what judges think. Interesting.
Well, I don't think it's like the jury principle.
You would think so, wouldn't you? A bit too much responsibility having to decide it all on your own. Richard says there's a severe lack of deserved punishment in the justice system. Most criminals wouldn't be there if they dreaded it. That's a good point. Prison should be a deterrent, shouldn't it? Maggie says this is now moving on to Rachel Reeves' predicament. Rachel Reeves called for people to resign for less. Her position as Chancellor is untenable. I mean, in the last government, they did make a habit of calling for resignations every time anyone.
Do you remember when Rishi Sunak, the Chancellor, she was his shadow Chancellor, wandered in inadvertently into the Downing Street study where there was an impromptu little birthday party for Boris Johnson. No alcohol. It was tea and cakes. Somebody handed him a piece of cake and a cup of tea and he drank it and ate it. He got a £50 fixed fine. Pathetic in the first place. And Reeves said, you should resign as Chancellor.
Right.
Pathetic.
And the front bench of the Labour Party, I remember saying, you know, lawmakers can't be lawbreakers.
That's right.
And therefore he should resign. You know what else really irritates me about all the commentary about the financial situation is that people forget that the Labour Party, well, and the Conservatives obviously, called for all this spending during the pandemic, £400 billion of money that we printed. That's why we're in so much debt. We've got such terrible inflation. Now, we're in that position. We've got to accept it and move on. But the Labour Party played their part in that as well.
Well, they wanted an extended lockdown.
They wanted it more furlough, more lockdown, more closures.
I mean, the joke used to be in Parliament at the time, we'd still be in lockdown under Keir Starmer.
Exactly. The reason there is no wiggle room in the economy at all is because of the enormous COVID debt. But it's convenient to forget that, isn't it, I think? Anyway, shall we move on? Justice Secretary David Lammy will scrap jury trials as part of efforts to tackle the court's emergency.
There's a record-high backlog of Crown Court cases totalling more than 78,000.
Well, just remember, this is the same David Lammy who has changed his mind because 5 years ago he tweeted, jury trials are a fundamental part of our democratic settlement. Criminal trials without juries are a bad idea.
Well, the backlog of cases has got worse, but I still don't think that is any reason to surrender the jury principle. Let's talk to our political editor, Chris Hope, who's in our Westminster studio. Chris, morning to you. We had a very interesting conversation with Michael Ellis, who was the Conservative Attorney-General in Boris Johnson's government, who demolished Lammy's reasons for getting rid of jury trials. He said it will do nothing to speed up the process. The real problems with the court procedure at the moment, many court buildings are dilapidated and unfit for use because of cutbacks in spending. But the big thing, he said, was the fact that trials are much more long, drawn out and complicated now because of mobile phones, and prosecutors have to go through endless information, so it just takes a lot longer. He said it won't make any difference whatsoever to the backlog to get rid of jury trials.
Well, he makes a good case, doesn't he? I mean, I think what's happening here, it's the either-or cases that are being affected by these changes. That's when a defendant can ask for a jury trial if they feel they'll get a better hearing that way, and that can happen in quite a few cases in England and Wales, and that's the ones where they want to remove the right to have that option of going to a jury trial. Of course, David Lammy is defending it, saying if you read Magna Carta closely, I'm sure you both have, from 1215, the principle is still there. We just can't always give a jury in every single instance. If you look at the backlog is unquestionably large. Whatever's causing it, whether it's gathering mobile phone data or dilapidated buildings, as Michael Ellis says, or whether it's because of the COVID backlog, which is what the government says, it is a long time. Some cases now being deferred until 2030, the next decade, and it's only 2025. That's a long way away, and that's why they're taking this action. But there's a principle here, which, of course, David Lammy argued against back in the days of COVID. You were mentioning there, Miriam, the COVID days. Everyone forgets what really almost expunged from our national consciousness. But we spent £500 billion, and also there's a huge backlog in courts in cases going back then. The Nightingale courts couldn't really cope. What David Lammy says, although he hasn't come on GB News again, so what he's saying elsewhere this morning is that defendants are playing the system and pleading guilty as late as possible. He claims it's about saving the jury system, not scrapping it. But there's a principle here which I think Michael Ellis is eloquently talking to.
Can we ask you about the Cabinet meeting this morning, Chris? Because to be a fly on the wall, this is the first Cabinet meeting since the budget which has landed very badly with voters. The Chancellor of the Exchequer accused by even Cabinet ministers of misleading them and Parliament. I imagine it was a tense affair because at least two of those ministers around the table have been briefing the media against the Chancellor and actually the Prime Minister.
And the choices made in that budget just last week. We heard from Sir Keir Starmer. They actually looked at confirmed they looked at breaking that manifesto pledge. We assume the pledge was to increase the rate of income tax, as was widely briefed 2 or 3 weeks ago. They looked at that, but then, of course, the numbers came back in. Now, Keir Starmer said yesterday that they had a £16 billion gap because they want to keep a £20 billion headroom, a rainy day fund to avoid having to come back again for more tax increases. And he said yesterday that we've gone through the narrowest part of the tunnel, implying there's light at the end of that tunnel. But yeah, no question, cabinet ministers are cross. Rachel Reeves has said, though, that she can't really brief all the cabinet so early on about the various elements in the budget for various market-sensitive reasons. That information is kept quite tightly. But there is a dispute at the top of government about what happened last week, and the way I think they chaotically tried to brief what to get ready for and then didn't, even though they appear to, according to the OBR's timeline, had the actual figures. We'll be hearing later today in Parliament from the various people at the OBR, the Office for Budget Responsibility. We won't hear from Richard Hughes. That's interesting. He's been allowed not to give evidence to MPs in the Treasury Committee. I wonder why that is. Is it just to save Rachel Reeves blushes? There has been precedent that in the past, when people have left jobs, they have turned up to give evidence to MPs. Why is that not happening? I mean, is it? I mean, of course, it's a cross-party committee. Miriam, you'll know more than I will on this, but the committee chair really should call, I think, Richard Hughes to ask what he knew, the warnings he gave to Rachel Reeves, and did they have any bearing on what the Treasury did last week?
Well, he's certainly the man who would have the most up-to-date information. Well, Chris Hope, our GB News political editor, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Now, moving on, the White House has launched Media Offender of the Week Award, a section on its website to call out fake news media.
So the Press Secretary, Caroline Levitt, who I think is a pretty impressive figure, actually, she says it's important to hold the media accountable.
Well, the Independent newspaper is the only British outlet that's made it onto the wall of shame so far. Who will be next, I wonder?
Well, let's talk to the president of the Heritage Foundation, Washington-based, Dr. Kevin Roberts. Morning to you, Dr. Roberts.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
A pleasure. We normally, as the press, hold the politicians to account for misleading and maybe fake news. They've turned the White House are turning this directly on its head.
It's a glorious day in America. And the reason I say that is that, as you know, the purpose of Heritage is to represent several million ordinary, everyday Americans who for decades have been frustrated not only by the Washington establishment, the political elites in our nation's capital, but their allies in the media. And we just love that Donald Trump and Caroline Levitt, who's done a fantastic job as press secretary, have had the courage, maybe even the moxie, to flip the table on the media. And of course, the people who are upset about this aren't the ordinary Americans who just want the media to tell the truth, imagine that, but of course, the Washington establishment. It's really telling that the people who are upset are those who, of course, love these anonymous source stories that often are not based on any facts, but on conjecture. So we love what's going on with this effort by the White House.
Now, Kevin, I've been having a look through the website this morning, and there's some quite astonishing cases, actually, of particularly criminal convictions where particular outlets have failed to report significant facts about the case, about people's previous criminal history. So some quite obvious examples of where the truth has been left out. But it does make me think, why is President Trump and why are Americans so concerned about the BBC when actually you've got quite a lot of problems in your own backyard?
Well, look, that's a fair question. We have plenty of American-based outlets that are almost as bad as the BBC. I think the BBC sets the standard.
Almost, I would say this is worse.
And you know that we love Britain, but the BBC is a real issue. All that to say, because it is a fair question, we have several dozen major media outlets in the United States that don't tell the truth. As an example, to the heart of your question, these are the same outlets, the American-based outlets, who told us about the Steele dossier, 100% false about President Trump. These are the same outlets who told us that President Biden was in tip-top shape, that he had no mental or physical incapacities. We know that that's not the case. That's just the tip of the iceberg. And so what we try to do at Heritage is not just point out the problem, but maybe point to a solution. What we can say is that in addition to the bad outlets, the bad media outlets in the United States, there are a lot of American-based outlets that, like GB News, are willing to tell the truth, to do so, that are pointed toward an aspirational future about what we do for freedom. But in order to do that, we first have to get media outlets that do not like to tell the truth out of the way, or at least to clean up their act.
Mm-hmm. Can we just move on to another story that's making news today, which is that Trump's Homeland Security Secretary wants to impose a full travel ban on countries who she says are trying to import or export killers, leechers and entitlement junkies. Can you fill us in on that?
Sure. The first important thing to mention in terms of context for that is, as you know, just about a week ago, we had 2 soldiers who were shot. One of them, unfortunately, died over the Thanksgiving weekend, 1 block from the White House. And they were assassinated, in essence, or one of them assassinated, the other shot, by an Afghan national who was one of 190,000 Afghans who migrated to the United States during the Biden years. That's also the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the hundreds of thousands, the millions of migrants, some of them illegal, from third world countries. And what the secretary is saying is that the United States needs to ramp up its effort to clean up not only illegal immigration, but legal migration. And then you ask the fair question, why? Because of the national security threat obviously posed to those 2 National Guardsmen, but also to millions of Americans in regular places, regular cities and counties. We're very grateful at Heritage for Secretary Noem's leadership on this, especially President Trump's, because what we're trying to do is to protect our very generous immigration system, I would argue the most generous in the world, by actually making sure there's accountability regarding the people who come into our country. And if they are people like this alleged murderer of these 2 guardsmen, if there are people who pose any threat to national security, if there are people who have a greater adherence to Sharia law, for example, than they do to the rule of law of the United States, we simply cannot have them in America.
Dr. Kevin Roberts from the Heritage Foundation, thank you so much for joining us this morning and filling us in on that important news. I do think it's just such a good way of naming and shaming.
Yeah.
Put the truth next to what's been said and people can see for themselves whether or not the truth is being told.
Yeah, he does things just differently, this president, doesn't he? Now, time for a new British giveaway. Your chance to win our biggest cash prize, an incredible £85,000 in tax-free cash. It could be yours in the new year. It's like having basically £7,000 extra in your bank each month for the whole of 2026. You could be our biggest cash winner. Here's all the details you need.
It's the greatest cash prize of a Great British giveaway so far. A simply stunning £85,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like, making 2026 your greatest year to date. That could get you that brand new car, extend and improve your home, take you away on that bucket list holiday, or just give you some peace of mind over the coming months. For a chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Coming up next, the Chancellor clings onto her job as the knives will surely be out for her at this morning's Cabinet meeting. How long can she hold on?
We're going through that and more with Dr. Rennie Hunterkamp and Nigel Nelson in just a moment. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk now? No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
I have the story here today. The brain has 5 eras, in it, and the adult mode doesn't start until the early 30s.
Yes. What it says is that rather than a sort of steady progression, your brain sort of changes at particular points in your life. So you've got phases of your life. So you change at 9 is the first point where your brain changes. Then it's 32 when adolescence finishes in terms of your brain, according to the study. Then you've got 66, which is where I've just got past. And then you've got 83. And then
what happens in 66? I'm asking for someone to know.
Asking for a friend.
You're asking for a personal reason. I'm afraid we start having less effective brains past 66 is what the consequence is. Some of the neural functions don't work as well. So it says here. Of course, even there are exceptions, such as you and me, perhaps.
No, I know there's plenty of things going wrong, yeah.
But 32 is the strongest overall shift in trajectory, it says here. This is a study that's been carried out. But I think Cambridge University have done
What
this.
happens at 32, asking for a friend?
You end up becoming more of an adult than you were when you were 31, apparently.
That's good. I became an adult last week.
Yeah, I know.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
I'm surprised they haven't, just made a discrepancy between male and female brains in this, because I don't think men ever grow up. I think the adult, wouldn't you? Maybe 66 is the way that men mature.
If they ever do.
Because your birthday's what, December the 3rd?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Coming up, Eamon.
But I agree with you about not growing up. I mean, people say, what do you want for Christmas? What do you want for your birthday?
He wants a big burger from the Metro.
Men like toys.
GB News, the People's Channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Welcome back. 26 minutes past 10. You're watching Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce. I'm Miriam.
You might have thought I was not paying attention, but I was.
You're always listening, always listening. Well, hopefully some of you will be listening to this, because at Christmas we are putting on a really exciting event and we want lots of you there too.
Miriam on the Joanna. I keep saying it.
It's not happened yet.
On Saturday the 13th of December, you're invited to join the GB News family for our Carols by Candlelight concert. For your chance to be with us, you can apply for tickets by scanning the QR code on screen right now, or by going to gbnews.com/carols. The concert will be broadcast on Christmas Eve. I'm doing a reading.
You are. Do you know which one yet?
No, but I hope it's a nice one. And it's a nice
it's
church.
A really long one.
It's a nice church, isn't it?
Yes, it's a very nice church. So we're recording it.
High Anglican, I hope.
I think so. You're allowed in?
Well, I'm allowed in, as I'm a Catholic.
Good, good. And
they keep saying Miriam's playing the piano. She hasn't agreed to do that yet.
I've not signed on the dotted line. But it's going to be recorded on the 13th and then played on Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
So, yes, I've been told by my boss I've got to. But,
well, I can accompany you, except I can't play the piano. So that'd be a bit difficult. Nigel Nelson, Dr. Annie Honeycomb. Are you a heathen, Nigel? Will you be at the carol concert? Are you a heathen?
I won't be at this carol concert, but
I think
I'm not a heathen, no.
Are you not?
No.
Are you not? Are you a good God-fearing Christian?
I wouldn't go as far as that. I think probably I was culturally a Christian.
OK. Are you agnostic?
No, I'm a Christian, but I'm actually being serious about the cultural bit.
Yeah.
I think if I had been born to in an Islamic country or to a Muslim family, I could as well have been a Muslim. So I'm a pluralist when it comes to religion.
Very good.
Sigh.
Are you surprised Rachel Reeves is still there?
I am.
To change the subject.
I am surprised, and I do wonder if she will make out the week. But they do seem very Teflon, this government, don't they? That whatever scandal comes, however much pressure is put, they just hang on in there.
It would be so difficult to lose a deputy prime minister in charge of the Exchequer there in the space of 6 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever it is.
Which is probably why he is hanging on to her.
I think it makes his position perilous.
It makes it, I think, untenable. But also, I think we, as the voting public, should be very careful what we wish for.
I agree.
Because as bad as they are, I do fear what the alternative might be.
Well, Nigel, you're the expert. If she goes, we get somebody like Pat McFadden, I suppose, as chancellor. But if he was toppled too, is it Angela Rayner?
Not necessarily, but I mean, I do
she'd
think
be a strong contender.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that Keir Starmer's position and Rachel Reeves' position are entangled.
Yes.
It would be very difficult for one to go
Well, and
with
he's
the other.
lashed himself to her mast yesterday.
Very much so. That's what he did. That's what he did yesterday. I mean, the situation here is that what they should be doing is thinking in terms of the future, and no budget must ever be like this one again. So on that basis, there, I don't think Rachel Reeves lied, by the way. I do think there was a lack of transparency, and the whole point there is either you tell everything, or you go back to the old system where you say absolutely nothing. What you can't do is the halfway house in between.
This lack of transparency is the new word for lie, isn't it? Really?
No, it's not. No, it's not, because I mean, a lie would actually be telling an untruth, and she didn't. But the lack of transparency.
Well, she said there was
she didn't tell the whole truth.
She said there was a black hole that we needed to
Not on November the 4th, she didn't, which is the key day.
But then what she talked about was a productivity. That productivity had been downgraded.
That's right. That's the bit she said.
Yes, but she said that would impact on tax receipts.
That's right.
But she'd been told on October the 31st by the Office of Budget Responsibility tax receipts were up because of inflation being higher and because of
she said it would impact on tax, and that's when she floated the idea of income tax. The point that she was making, without giving the figures, and this is what I mean about telling everything.
I think she lied.
Is that the OBR had given her a headroom of 4.2 billion. That clearly wasn't enough. She wanted to increase that to over 20 billion. That was the point of the tax raising thing, but she hadn't used all those figures within that particular briefing.
But you're not being transparent now, are you? Because the reason she raised all the taxes was to give it away in welfare benefits, not to just make her fiscal headroom big enough.
Not just
and if she'd have been brave enough to stand up and say, look, we're OK, we've got this very small surplus, it does need to be bigger, especially as I want to take your hard-working cash and give it to people on welfare.
Yeah.
That would have been honest.
That's my point about making it transparent.
Yeah.
That this is the point about saying everything. In other words, the budget process is completely revamped. You start at the beginning of the year and say, right, I'm thinking of doing this, 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 and this. The economy is in this, this, and this state. Then kind of get a public consultation on it to find out what is likely to work and what doesn't work, or say absolutely nothing, budget purdah, and you wait for the big day to find out what happens.
Because you could argue with it, we've almost had too much transparency. We've had the running commentary of what the Treasury thinks, what the OBR thinks, what the Labour Party thinks, and actually it's the commentary that's been damaging rather than any particular
and possibly damaging to the economy and to the markets, and we will see how that applies.
There's no doubt about people who have been making a lot of money in the markets on the back of all her
and making decisions or delaying decisions.
Yes.
But the other thing that we need to think about here is I think that what this budget has done is it has drawn a line in the sand between two groups. Those who want big state, big welfare and big taxes, and those that want the complete opposite. It was muddled before because people want to be kind, they want to help people. I think now this has said, right, enough is enough, and it's divided the nation.
I mean, that's sort of the division in the studio. There's Nigel, big state, big taxes, and us three who want the reverse. Small state and lower taxes because it encourages enterprise and...
Yeah, that's roughly it, yes. The divide is sort of there.
Yeah. I think she's rapidly going down in history, Nigel, as the worst Chancellor of modern times, because the last budget was badly handled, but this has been catastrophic.
No, it's the lead-up to the budget was badly handled.
That's all part of being Chancellor.
Well, it is part of being Chancellor, but it didn't... The budget itself hasn't unravelled like Liz Truss's budget did. That's got to be the worst budget in history. We haven't had a pasty tax that George Osborne brought in.
I can't let you say that without pushing back.
Okay.
The gilt market has been the highest it has been in terms of returns since Liz Truss under this government. It is much higher now than the damage that Liz Truss
does. There was no spike before or after the budget.
There was no spike, but it's just gradually got worse.
Possibly one thing that will unravel will be business rates, because there's a bit of smoke and mirrors there.
The pub trade is in real trouble over this.
Yeah, I think that the pub trade thing, I mean, bear in mind that this is always going to happen, that you're going to lose that 40% discount you had, which was brought in during COVID. So everyone knew that was going to happen. And what seems to have also happened is that the business valuation rates are going up. Pubs particularly,
massive increases,
and hotels particularly.
But Nigel, huge increases. I've had landlords sending me their bills, how much they're going up.
Yeah, no,
it's going to put a lot of them out of business.
Well, we will come first to you, Renee, next time. We'll be back in an hour. But first of all, we've got our 60-second news update with Sam Francis.
Very good morning to you. 10:34. David Lammy is set to scale back the number of jury trials as part of a major reform to clear court backlogs. Magistrates could soon hand down sentences of up to 18 months, possibly 24. And a new judge-only division of the Crown Court will handle cases carrying up to 3 years in jail. But juries stay for the most serious crimes. That comes as David Lammy has also admitted 2 prisoners are still at large following a spike in accidental releases. 12 inmates have been wrongly freed in just 3 weeks, on top of 91 earlier this year. He says human error in a paper-based system is to blame until prisons finally go fully digital. It's a critical week for Ukraine peace talks. Vladimir Putin will meet US envoy Steve Witkoff in Moscow today. Kyiv insists its sovereignty, though, isn't up for negotiation, warning tough issues remain. New laws this week will give enforcement immigration officers sweeping new powers, including searching phones, coats, and even inside mouths for hidden SIM cards. It's all aimed at tracking down people smuggling gangs behind the Channel crossings. And UK airports are bracing for the busiest Christmas getaway ever. More than 22 million passengers expected this month, with Heathrow alone handling over 7 million travellers. Those are the latest headlines. A full roundup from the newsroom at 11.
Take the GB News family with you on any device. As long as you have an internet connection, tune into GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond.
Well, coming up next, you don't want to miss this. We're going to be joined by the Yorkshire bricklayer who's fed up of Brits claiming benefits when they could be at work.
These people should be forced to do 2 days a week, voluntary, litter picking, cleaning graffiti off of walls, anything like that. And if they don't receive a penny.
No wonder that's gone down so well. Don't miss it. That's coming up here on Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. Now, although today will be a drier day, there's still a fair few blustery showers on the way for many western areas. Some sunshine in between, and we've got off to a pretty bright start across the east, and there will be more sunshine on the way for many eastern areas. Further west, though, you can see a plethora of showers moving in from the Atlantic. Some of these will really pack a punch, bringing a risk of hail and thunder, particularly to the south and west. But notice some very heavy showers across the northwest too. Now, temperatures are a degree or so cooler than yesterday, but it will feel that much more pleasant, particularly in any sheltered sunshine across the east. Now, the winds will be quite strong, particularly across northwestern areas close to this small area of low pressure. So that brings an unsettled evening to parts of the Highlands and the Western Isles in particular, where we'll continue to see these showers moving in through this evening. Eastern areas of Scotland, the central belt, seeing plenty of dry weather, some clearer skies developing through this evening, as well as across Northern Ireland. The temperatures will start to fall away. Still quite a lot of cloud around for many central and southern areas of England and Wales, and a number of showers still yet to move through on Tuesday evening. They could come further inland across eastern areas for a time, but overnight tonight it will become clearer and drier for many areas. There will still be a number of showers, particularly across coastal areas, western coasts of the UK. So here there'll be more cloud, will be frost free, but inland sheltered areas could see a touch of frost by Wednesday morning. So a cooler start to the day on Wednesday than today, but more in the way of sunshine to come. A fairly settled day actually for eastern areas. A very different story though for northern Scotland, where this rain will turn to snow over the highest ground. Further south, a mixture of sunshine and showers, particularly across the west, but more in the way of drier weather to come on Wednesday compared to today. And as a result, temperatures will climb to the double digits, 10 or 11 degrees across southwestern areas. See you soon.
Thank you, Britain, for sharing over 5 million comments on your say, because when you talk, we listen.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. The A90 northbound at St Mardo's has restrictions due to a broken down vehicle. In Worcestershire, one lane of the M42 northbound is closed due to a collision between junctions 2 and 3. In North Yorkshire, a lane is closed on the A1M southbound between junctions 51 and 50. Drivers on the M25 anti-clockwise between junctions 26 and 25 should prepare for delays. 2 lanes out of 4 are closed due to a collision. The M4 westbound in South Gloucestershire has 1 lane shut between junctions 19 and 20 due to a broken down vehicle. And on the trains, Thameslink and Avanti West Coast services face disruption. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
.39 Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and I was going to call you Beth Turner. Who's doing great stuff? Who's doing great stuff in America?
Absolutely.
We're very happy that Miriam's here.
We're going to stick in the UK now because Don Daniels, who is a 36-year-old bricklayer from Sheffield and living in Leeds, has gone viral after posting online about the budget, which raised taxes and welfare spending. Take a look at what he's been posting.
People should be forced to do 2 days a week, voluntary, litter picking, cleaning graffiti off of walls, anything like that. And if they don't receive a penny.
And I especially love this tweet he put out on social media. He said, "Some days I want to give up, but there's people on benefits depending on me."
Well, bricklayer and now social media star Don Daniels joins us now. Don, good morning. Thank you so much for coming on the programme this morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. I see you're dressed for a hard day's work. What inspired you to start posting slightly more political things?
Just since the budget's come to our attention, really. I voted Labour and I regret that decision hugely. I believed Labour was a party for the working class and I was completely lied to, along with many, many millions of other voters.
And so, did you see the budget, Don, that hard-working people like you are going to pay more taxes because she's put up the benefits bill enormously, £16 billion, and which is figures that we can't really comprehend how much that money is.
It's absolutely ridiculous. Like we're having to pay more tax, and not only that, everything around us is now going up for that reason. So my gym membership has now put out a notice saying they are putting their prices up. Everyone's putting the prices up to kind of counteract the more tax they are getting. And it's us working class that are paying the bill for it. We're the ones suffering. And the people on benefits are now thriving. I can't blame the people on benefits to an extent. It's the government what's giving them the option not to work. There should be no options. You either work or you don't get a penny. If you are able to work, get to work.
I think there are now 5 million people in the country that are on benefits with no work requirement, but you've had an idea about what the government should do about this. Tell us what you proposed.
Yeah, they should all start litter picking. They should do the community service, what the criminals have to do when they get their fines, and there's community service jobs out there. They should be forced to do those community service jobs, and if they don't turn up, they don't get paid. It's as simple as that. Or big companies like Tesco, the universal credit should get on board with big companies and say, look, take 10 people off universal credit and they'll work for free. And that will give them an incentive to get to work. If they're having to turn up to work for free or they're not getting the benefits, best believe they'll start finding work.
Yeah. And the people you work with, Don, are they, because you've got a tough job that you do, are they as pretty much outraged as you are by the fact that hard-working people are being penalised again and again to pay for some people who we know are shirking? They're staying at home, they're shirking work because they get more on benefits.
100%. Like we've all had enough. Everybody's had enough. My job is a very, very hard physical manual labour job. It's tough. Sometimes I do struggle to get out of bed knowing what's exactly ahead of me. But somebody's got to do this job. I chose this job by choice. Somebody's got to do it, whether it's me or somebody else. But I get up, -2 conditions. I'm stood outside. I can't feel my fingers till 10 o'clock in the morning. but I still get up and give my all, and so should everybody else.
Do you think that now that more people are understanding just how much the government spends on welfare every year, just how much tax we pay, do you think that more people, especially more young people, will be motivated to vote at the next election? Because I know at the last election there were quite a lot of young men, for example, who just didn't vote at all. Do you think that might change next time?
The only people voting for Labour in the next election are the unemployed people who are thriving at the moment. That is it. The working class, nobody's going to vote for Labour again. They've lost the trust of the UK completely. I wouldn't be surprised if it even lasts until the next election. He needs to step down. So does Rachel Reeves.
And Don, were you always a Labour voter, or was it your first time last time?
Yeah, it was my first time last time. I've always been one of those on the fence. But after a while, you decide that one vote does count. If everybody decided, oh, my vote won't count, that's millions of people not voting. Everybody needs to get up and vote.
Yeah, but we don't know when the next general election is coming, Don, but you will vote, I hope. Do you know who you're going to vote for yet, or are you still making your mind up?
I'm more along on the ways of reform, just because I believe Nigel Farage is a man of his word. But I say that against Keir Starmer. He promised he wouldn't raise taxes. He's done that.
He did.
And now he's done that. He's using the NHS as a scapegoat to say, oh, we've done it for the NHS, we've done it for the NHS. But really and truly, the best thing for the NHS would be to get people up and off their backside into work, contributing to the system.
Can I just ask finally, Don, whereabouts in Sheffield are you from? Speaking of someone who's also from Sheffield.
I'm from Shire Green.
Oh, wow, not far from me. That's great.
All right.
Well, thank you so much, and good luck with your, political career, shall we call it? You've gone viral.
And Don, keep posting those messages, because we all love them. You're cheering everybody up, and people are cheering in agreement with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I've got plenty of messages. Thank you very much.
I bet you have.
And keep up your hard work too. That's the bricklayer and social media star, Don Daniels, joining us from Sheffield. What a nice bloke.
Absolutely. So interesting how the budget and all the coverage of it has really broken through this time, perhaps the way it hasn't before.
Yeah. Well, because we had all those weeks of building up to it. That was part of the problem. 83 days from the day she announced the date of the budget to when we actually had it. Just get on with it next time.
It's crazy because we're short of bricklayers, we're short of people in construction. Boosting the construction industry would have a huge impact on the economy. But as Don's saying, lots of people get more money for staying at home.
They do. Now up next, find out how many children under five have social media accounts. We don't think you're going to believe the figure.
But first, if you're in search of some holiday sun, here's the forecast for some of the top European destinations.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there. If you're planning on escaping the rain this week, well, unfortunately, there's still some rain affecting the parts of the Mediterranean. High pressure, though, in the Canaries, bringing plenty of dry weather to Madeira, 17 degrees here. Plenty of dry weather also across Spain and Portugal, as well as southern areas of France. However, this wet weather is still moving into parts of Greece, bringing some showers to Santorini through the rest of this week. Looking elsewhere, it does look drier and warmer by the weekend.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, DC.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Bold. They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
no,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
Welcome back. 10 to 11, you're watching Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Now, I think you're going to be astonished by this figure, because we certainly were. More than a third of children aged 3 to 5 use at least one app or social media site, despite their links to anxiety, speech impediment, sleep disruption and bad behaviour. I think that figure is staggering.
Well, senior researcher at the Centre for Social Justice, Luke Taylor, joins us now. Good morning, Luke. Thanks for joining us.
Morning. Thanks for having me.
Now, these figures are absolutely extraordinary. I think some of our viewers will be shocked. What is the problem here? Why is it having such a detrimental effect, children using these apps?
Yeah, so, I mean, it comes as part of a wider conversation where we talk a lot about social media, smartphones, just screen access and the kind of impacts that is having on children, teenagers, young people. I think what's particularly striking about this finding is it's from the Ofcom survey this year, 37% of 3 to 5-year-olds who are now using social media accounts. And we did a little kind of population study and found that actually that equates to over 800,000 children between the ages of 3 and 5 who are regularly using social media. Again, you know, the problems that are associated with that, with things like speech, language, communication and learning delays, things like ADHD-like symptoms, more behavioural issues, internalizing, externalizing challenges, even health behaviours like hormonal imbalances, poor eye health and, you know, postures that come through this prolonged screen and social media use. We're no longer just seeing that with teenagers. It's starting really, really young.
And Luke, do you know or what they are looking at in particular?
So again, I think that's one of the really challenging things we're seeing is that it's a whole range of things. So 1 in 5 of these 3 to 5-year-olds are unsupervised by their parents, so we don't really know. We've also seen massive rises in rates of eating disorder content, self-harm content, radicalization, violent content online. And these are affecting boys and girls very differently. I think we'll all recognize the trends that have changed in recent years. But I think just to reiterate again, all those challenges that we have been kind of articulating and seeing that are present in our teenagers, they're actually starting far, far younger than we realized.
And do you think parents know the damage that these phones and these apps are doing to children?
I think that's a great question. One of the things we've realised is there seems to be a real mismatch between what parents know and think is what's safe and what's appropriate for kids, and then what health professionals, so the WHO, the World Health Organization, or good organisations like Health Professionals for Safer Screens, there is a real mismatch in what is safe and what is appropriate. So just even in terms of screen time, when you're a child under the age of 2, you're recommended to have no screen time at all. And then only an hour up to the ages of 3 and 4. but that is massively exceeded at every age group, the boys and girls in those early years. And it's not just screen time, it's things like social media use, but even in owning a smartphone. So as much as we're saying there's 800,000 kids between that age group accessing social media, it's also 1 in 5 of that age group now have their own smartphone. So there is a real change in the way that we're
they've got their own phones. They're not just looking at mum or dad's phone, they've got their own phone.
Yeah, I mean, and this is all from Ofcom's latest data study. It came out in May. So it's a real change.
Well, we're going to have to leave it there, but thank you so much for coming on this morning. It's such an important topic.
I think that's really disturbing.
It is. And of course, parents are responsible, but we also need information out there about this new harm, what it's doing to kids. Kids are turning up at school not able to speak because of this.
Yeah, I know. And as you said, and their posture, they can't sit properly.
Well, don't go away. We've got plenty more coming up.
This is Britain's Newsroom, Britain's favourite morning show on GB News with lots more viewers every day.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. Now, although today will be a drier day, there's still a fair few blustery showers on the way for many western areas. Some sunshine in between, and we've got off to a pretty bright start across the east, and there will be more sunshine on the way for many eastern areas. Further west, though, you can see a plethora of showers moving in from the Atlantic. Some of these will really pack a punch, bringing a risk of hail and thunder, particularly to the south and west. But notice some very heavy showers across the northwest too. Now, temperatures are a degree or so cooler than yesterday, but it will feel that much more pleasant, particularly in any sheltered sunshine across the east. Now, the winds will be quite strong, particularly across northwestern areas close to this small area of low pressure. So that brings an unsettled evening to parts of the Highlands and the Western Isles in particular, where we'll continue to see these showers moving in through this evening. Eastern areas of Scotland, the central belt, seeing plenty of dry weather, some clearer skies developing through this evening, as well as across Northern Ireland. The temperatures will start to fall away. Still quite a lot of cloud around for many central and southern areas of England and Wales, and a number of showers still yet to move through on Tuesday evening. They could come further inland across eastern areas for a time, but overnight tonight it will become clearer and drier for many areas. There will still be a number of showers, particularly across coastal areas, western coasts of the UK. So here there'll be more cloud, will be frost-free, but inland sheltered areas could see a touch of frost by Wednesday morning. So a cooler start to the day on Wednesday than today, but more in the way of sunshine to come. A fairly settled day actually for eastern areas. A very different story though for northern Scotland, where this rain will turn to snow over the highest ground. Further south, a mixture of sunshine and showers, particularly across the west, but more in the way of drier weather to come on Wednesday compared to today. And as a result, temperatures will climb to the double digits, 10 or 11 degrees across southwestern areas. See you soon.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather.
It's the big one. Your chance to win a whopping £85,000 in tax-free cash. The largest cash prize we've given away to date. That's like over £7,000 a month extra in your bank account each month for 12 whole months. That's a year of yes. Yes to holidays, yes to treats, yes to shopping trips, yes to home improvements. For a chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's News Channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
It's 11 o'clock on Tuesday, the 2nd of December, live across the UK, Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
Well, we're asking, is this the man to restore justice to Britain?
Everything I'm announcing today is about centring victims in our criminal justice system.
Well, that's the Justice Secretary, David Lammy, and he will only use jury trials for the most serious crimes as he sets out his measures to tackle the court backlog.
And yet another jail fail for Lammy. It's been revealed 12 further prisoners have been accidentally released.
I am clear that no transformation today carries greater consequence than the rise of China.
Well, that's the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, who is warning that China poses real national security threats to the United Kingdom, but claims it would be a dereliction of duty not to engage with the Chinese.
Let me start with an apology. A link to our economic and fiscal outlook document went live on our website too early this morning and was subsequently removed. We apologise to the Chancellor, members of Parliament, for this technical error.
Have you ever heard a man speak so fast? Rachel Reeves, our Chancellor, dodged the bullets because it was the head of the fiscal watchdog, the Office of Budget Responsibility, who was forced out. She battles on to try to save her flagging political career.
My dad, unfortunately, had to lose his life before the police took any action.
Well, that's the daughter of a murdered dog walker who's hit out at police, saying her father's death could have been prevented. 80-year-old Bim Coley was brutally killed by teenagers at his local park in Leicestershire last year.
These people should be forced to do 2 days a week, voluntary, litter picking, cleaning graffiti off the walls, anything like that. And if they don't receive a penny.
That's Don Daniels, the bricklayer from Yorkshire. He's gone viral for his post about living in Benefits Britain after the Chancellor's budget. He was with us just a few moments ago.
I voted Labour and I regret that decision hugely. I believed Labour was a party for the working class.
Well, lots of you have been getting in touch on gbnews.com/yoursay about Dom, the builder, the bricklayer that we had on just a few moments ago. And he was very clear in his point of view, Andrew, wasn't he?
And he also made that point, which I've often tried to say myself. If you're unemployed, why aren't you, if you're able-bodied, put to work in the community? Building fences, helping pensioners, doing gardening, cutting grass verges. Why do they just get benefits and sit at home and watch Sky News?
And of course, there's a link, isn't there, as well, to mass immigration, which has also angered lots of people. If lots of Brits are taking benefits and not going to work, then of course, big businesses, construction industry are going to need to get workers from somewhere, hence the pull for massive immigration. So all these things are linked, aren't they? But good on him for having a voice, using social media, and hopefully inspiring lots of people to get out there and vote, to be honest.
So. Yeah, and he was a lifelong, well, he was a Labour voter, not anymore. Now, as ever, we want to know what you think. Send your views, post your comments by visiting
gbnews.com/your say. But first, here's the news with Sam Francis.
Very good morning to you. Just after 11 o'clock, well, the top story this hour, Justice Secretary David Lammy is expected to unveil major changes to tackle court backlogs, including a significant reduction in the number of jury trials. For either way offences, defendants will no longer be able to opt for a jury if magistrates say they can hear the case. And appeals will now require approval from a judge before reaching the Crown Court. Magistrate sentencing powers will rise from 12 to 18 months with the option of going up to 24 months. And a new jury-free division of the Crown Court will hear cases carrying sentences of up to 3 years, overseen just by a single judge. But juries will still be used for more serious offences, typically those likely to receive 5 years or more. Well, David Lammy says that axing jury trials will help victims and tackle the backlog in courts.
Everything I'm announcing today is about centering victims in our criminal justice system. It is unacceptable that if you are raped in our country tonight, that you might be waiting until 2028, 2029 for a hearing. And I'm determined to do something about it.
But Shadow Chancellor Sir Mel Stride told us earlier he thinks David Lammy's plan to scrap jury trials is the wrong decision.
To dismiss the centuries-long situation where we've had jury trials as hanging on to tradition is a little bit perverse. I think it's a very, very important element of maintaining confidence in our judicial system. And there is an alternative to what he's doing, and that is to not be spending an extra £16 billion of benefits for people who are not in work, but actually putting perhaps some of that resource into speeding up and extending the period over which courts sit so we can get through this backlog.
That comes as the Justice Secretary has also revealed today a dozen prisoners have been mistakenly released in just the past month. 2 are still on the run. David Lammy says the pair at large are not violent or sexual offenders but won't give further details while police prepare arrests. It comes after a series of blunders across the prison estate, which include the wrongful release of convicted sex offender Brahim Kadur Sharif and the case of Hadushka Batu, whose mistaken release sparked protests in Essex. David Lammy says stronger security checks are now in place, calling early signs a downward trend, but admits there remains, in his words, a mountain to climb to fix the system. In Ukraine, a British man has been detained on suspicion of spying for Russia, according to Ukraine's security service. Investigators say the suspect, a former member of the UK's armed forces who travelled to Ukraine last year to train soldiers, was later recruited by Russia's FSB, allegedly tempted by easy money. He's accused of passing Ukrainian military coordinates to Moscow and even preparing terrorist attacks, including receiving instructions to build an IED. He was arrested in October and is now being held on suspicion of passing unauthorised information to Russia, charges that could carry up to 12 years in prison if convicted. New immigration laws set to receive royal assent this week will hand immigration enforcement officers unprecedented powers to target people smuggling gangs. For the first time, officers will be able to order illegal migrants to remove coats, remove jackets or gloves at UK ports to search for phones and even inspect inside someone's mouth for hidden SIM cards or micro devices. The Home Office says the aim is to seize crucial early-stage intelligence, including messages between smugglers and migrants to help disrupt the criminal networks driving channel crossings. And just an update to bring you in the sport. Former England batter Robin Smith has sadly died at the age of 62. The batter passed away unexpectedly at his South Perth apartment on Monday, with his family confirming that news in a statement. Nicknamed, of course, Judge, Smith was one of the most admired players of his era, scoring more than 4,200 test runs across 62 matches. So that news just into us this morning. Former England batter Robin Smith has died at the age of 62. Well, those are the latest headlines for now. I'll be back with you in half an hour. Next, though, a quick look at the markets.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
8 minutes past 11, here are the markets for you. The pound will buy you $1.3198 and 1.1371 euros. The price of gold is £3,172, 72 pence per ounce, and the FTSE 100 is at 9,722 points.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Hello and welcome. This is Britain's Newsroom, live across the UK on GB News with Andrew and Miriam. I think you've been quite a lot of emails and texts coming in, Miriam.
Yes, lots of fans of Don the Builder who came on. Jane says, I love this one. Don the Builder, can he fix it? Don the Builder, yes he can. Brilliant interview with hard-working builder who, in my opinion, represents all hard-working people in the UK. And Alison says, I loved what Don the Bricklayer said. He made perfect sense. Sakia and Rachel should listen to him. He was superb, and he's from Sheffield, and everything with good sense comes from Sheffield.
And of course, Miriam is a Sheffield lass, born and bred,
But he was so good, wasn't he?
He was good, and I think it's another sign that that budget really has impacted negatively.
Yeah. And people in construction, it's such an important sector. We need to be building houses. When the construction industry grows, the economy gets back on its feet. And yet, if people in the construction industry are saying, as some of his mates are, well, I'm not going to bother working Fridays, what's the point when I have to work so much, pay so much tax? It's going to have an impact on everybody.
And he works very hard, doesn't he?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a tough job.
Yeah, and one of the videos that's gone viral is of him laying bricks in the snow, turning out to work in whatever conditions, because if he doesn't work, he doesn't get paid. He gets paid by the brick. And yet, as he makes the point, lots of people on benefits with no requirement to work, they get paid regardless. So, real unfairness.
Well, the CSJ has done some research showing how much more a family of 3 or 4 on benefits earn more than somebody on the average wage.
That's right. Terry says benefits should be a safety net, not a way of living. Of course, that was the original purpose of the welfare state, to provide a safety net for a few weeks while people got back on their feet, but it's turned into something completely different.
Now, Justice Secretary David Lammy, who is also our Deputy Prime Minister, God help us, is to scrap some jury trials as part of efforts, he says, to tackle the crisis in the great backlog of cases in our courts.
Well, there is a record high number of those backlogs, now totalling more than 78,000 cases waiting to be heard in the Crown Courts. And just remember, this is the same David Lammy who 5 years ago tweeted,
"Jury trials are a fundamental part of our democratic settlement. Criminal trials without juries are a bad idea." Funny that.
I think he's changed his mind.
I think he has. Our political editor Chris Hope joins us now. Chris, this is a big step by this Labour government, and are you hearing from Labour MPs that they're completely comfortable with it?
We haven't heard yet. We haven't heard the detail yet from David Lammy. It's been mooted after a leak to the BBC last week what's coming, but we think they're going to remove the right to request a jury trial in so-called either-way cases, when it's optional whether you can be sentenced by a single judge or magistrate or go to a full jury. You can request a jury trial, and that's part of our rights under Magna Carta 1215. That's when it was passed all those years ago under King John. That's the idea of it, and that's what's being challenged here. Now, David Lammy, if he were to appear on GB News, he hasn't, by the way, if he were to appear, he'd be saying this. This is about saving the jury system, not scrapping it. defendants, he says, have been saying elsewhere that they're playing the system and pleading guilty as later as possible. There's a backlog around 100,000, or approaching, it's about 80,000 now, approaching, could be by 100,000 of cases waiting to get through the system. Some cases are being deferred until the early 2030s. That's, of course, 5 years away. So something needs to be done here. We've heard from Michael Ellis, of course, the former Conservative Attorney General. He says it's the wrong thing to do. He says there's issues about data, retrieving data from mobile phones, dilapidated buildings and so forth. He needs the system, clearly needs more investment to be quicker and serve justice quicker. But David Lammy instead is trying to say, let's remove this right to a jury trial. There was a report earlier this summer by Sir Brian Leveson, him of the Leveson report, Andrew and Miriam. He went towards this, but not as far as David Lammy's going.
Good news for reform, Chris. 3 former Tory MPs who all lost their seat at the last election, Jonathan Gullis, Chris Green and Leah Nicky, have defected to reform. Jonathan Gullis, I think people may know on this station because he used to appear quite regularly.
Well, yeah, Jonathan Gullis was a former deputy chairman of the party. Leah Nicky, Chris Green, they're well regarded locally. Leah Nicky, of course, was a parliamentary private secretary to Boris Johnson when he was Prime Minister. Chris Green, well regarded locally. That's gone down very well locally, we understand, amongst Tories, according to reform sources. So, yes, the parties, I think it's maybe 18, I think now, former Tory MPs have now joined a reform. This is because Nigel Farage needs to pull in people who have experience of running, of being part of a government, if not in government, part of a governing party, know how things operate. It's damaging, or risk being damaging to reform, because it means the party looks like it's pulling together retreads. People rejected at the last year's general election by voters join reform and have a second career, as it were. Also, it does damage the attempts by reform to say they appeal to Labour MPs, Labour supporters, I should say, because there aren't really any big Labour figures joining reform yet. But it is hitting that mark of bringing in more expertise.
Well, I think, Chris, if I'm correct, I think all those 3 former MPs also joined reform, if you like. They chose to join reform. I don't think they have been recruited in the way that, say, Danny Kruger was. But it does throw up interesting questions, because all 3 of those people who are my friends, former colleagues, consistently stood up for and voted for the kinds of things that reform now stands for. Whether that's tougher line on immigration, tougher line on net zero. So in a way, if there's no policy difference between those MPs and what they stood for in Parliament and what reform now stands for, then surely any sensible person would not think that would be damaging to reform.
I think it's damaging in the sense that Reform tell us they want to appeal across all political boundaries, just to people who are angry with the failure of both the 2 main parties. Some people call that the uni party, and by bringing in more Conservative MPs makes it harder maybe for some Labour supporters to support them. That's how it looks. But, I mean, I think it does actually support and help Nigel Farage. It does help him try and bring in expertise. But I think they do need to try and attract more from the left to be this party that appeals across the board. But look at them in the polls; they're on 28 points. They're, I think, 6 or 8 points ahead of, or even 10 points in some cases, ahead of the Labour Party and the Tory Party. So they're doing very well, and they're trying to amass support. And we will be hearing a lot more, I expect, from Reform UK in the new year, when they're trying to keep the pressure up going into what will be vital May elections. For all the main parties are facing a massive moment of truth, I think, at these May locals, both at the English local council elections and in Wales and in Scotland at the Assembly level.
All right, Chris, that's Chris Hope, who is our political editor there in the Westminster studio. So, as we just mentioned, 3 former Tory MPs have joined Reform. You knew them all, of course, Miriam.
Yes, Jonathan Gullis, Chris Green and Leah Nicky.
They were more, and the Tories will obviously be worried about these defections.
Well, and they were people who consistently stood up, actually, against the last government in terms of wanting harder line on immigration.
Yeah, they rebelled a lot.
What they would have called proper Conservatives.
Yeah. Well, we can talk to the Conservative leader, Kemi Badenoch, who joins us now. Good morning.
Hello.
Well, we've just seen a poll in YouGov which shows the Conservatives have pulled level with Labour, albeit only on 19 points. But is that progress of a sort, Kemi Badenoch?
Well, what we're seeing is that people are listening to us again. We suffered a historic defeat last year, and oppositions have taken 14 years, 13 years, 18 years to come back. We're going to do this in 4 years. So there's still a long way to go, but what we are seeing is that many people are interested in what the Conservatives have to say because they can see that they're getting poorer under Labour.
Now, your response to the Chancellor's budget speech got some widely covered. Lots of people very much praising the way that you took the budget down and the criticism that you had of Rachel Reeves. Do you think that is cutting through? Nigel Farage has published a piece today in the Telegraph saying, "Don't trust the Tories." Do you think he's worried?
I think he is worried. On the same day when he's trying to recruit as many former Conservatives as possible, he's saying don't trust the Tories. It can't be both things at the same time. I think it's a very confused message, but I'm not really interested in what he's saying. I think the fact that he chose to attack us at a time when it's Labour that's on the ropes, it's the Chancellor who's in the dock. They are making everyone in our country poorer, apart from people on benefits. And Nigel Farage thinks the most important thing to do is to attack me. That is not serious. We right now, as a country, need to get serious and get a grip. We are getting poorer. We're living beyond our means. We are the only party, the Conservatives, who are interested in fiscal responsibility. And I think that people can see that, and that's why they're paying more attention.
In your conference speech, I was there for it, Kemi Badenoch, you mentioned the flagship policy that you would scrap stamp duty. We've hardly heard the Tories talk about it ever since, or if you have, I've missed it. Why aren't you talking about it at every opportunity? Because I think it would be a hugely popular policy, especially with young people who can't get on the property market.
Oh, I am talking about it with every single opportunity. I was just talking to Catherine Forster, one of your colleagues, and she said the last time we spoke, it was because we were talking about stamp duty. So yes, we are making sure that people know what our policies are, but there is a lot that is going on. And right now, the big problem with the budget is that working people are being taxed to the hilt to pay for benefits. That was a budget for benefits. Rachel Reeves is using everyone else's money in order to save her job, bribe her backbenchers so they don't get rid of her. That is the wrong way round. She should be losing her job and everyone else should be keeping theirs. I'm at a business right now where they talked about what the last budget did to them. The jobs tax meant that they had to sack people. We need aspirational positive policies like abolishing stamp duty. So thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to talk about it. The other thing that people are talking about is revitalising the high streets. We want to scrap business rates for most of the high streets. If they're under £110,000 rates, retail, hospitality, leisure, that's pubs, shops, cafes, restaurants, we would scrap their business rates.
Now, one of the pressing problems that this country is facing at the moment is the enormous backlog in the courts. David Lammy has suggested scrapping jury trials. If that's not the answer, what is?
It is not the answer. The answer is to just get a grip. They don't know how to do anything. Everything that this government touches is a shambles, whether it's borders, whether it's prisons, whether it's taxes. They're U-turning all over the place. On the grooming gangs national inquiry, they've U-turned. Now they can't find someone to do it. On winter fuel payments, they said they were going to take it away. Then they decided to give it back. They are all over the place. This is just another example. We have a bunch of people who were not ready for government. They told people whatever they wanted to hear. Now they've got into government, they don't know how to run things. And this is why I am trying to distinguish myself from all of the other parties, Labour, Lib Dems, Reform. They all talk a good game. How do you make sure things work? They don't know. We are doing the hard work in opposition to make sure that we are ready in 4 years' time when everybody is going to be doing all they can to kick out this Labour government.
But just before we let you go, Kemi Badenoch, some people might say the Tories weren't very good at running things either, which is why they got booted out with such a resounding defeat last summer.
Well, we won 4 elections in a row, so I think that people saw something that they were voting for. And I'm not here to pretend that everything was perfect. It certainly wasn't. There were a lot of arguments about which direction to go to. Miriam will know a lot about that. But what I'm trying to do is make sure people understand what we stand for now. I am very proud of my own personal record in government. There was a lot of stuff that I did as business secretary, as equalities minister, that stood the test of time. And I can say that I did the right thing. I'm in charge now. The party's now under my leadership, not the previous people. I don't have a time machine to go back and fix some of the things that went wrong. But when it came to things like cutting the deficit, we did that all the way to the pandemic. If any other party, Labour, Lib Dems, Reform, had been in charge during the pandemic, this country would have been bankrupted. We saved the country during that time. I am proud of it. We didn't get everything right, and we're going to show people that we can earn their trust, that we are worthy of their trust. We're not expecting everybody to rush back overnight. We are working hard to make sure that we can win the trust of the British people.
All right.
Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch, thank you so much for your time this morning.
Now, coming up, it's our great British... Oh, no, it's our great new grip giveaway. Your chance for our biggest cash prize to date. £85,000 tax-free, which works out about £7,000 a month. Very nice to have.
The tax-free element will be very popular.
Yes, particularly after that flipping budget.
Well, you could be our biggest ever cash winner. Here are all the details you need.
It's the greatest cash prize of the Great British Giveaway so far. A simply stunning £85,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like, making 2026 your greatest year to date. That could get you that brand new car, extend and improve your home, take you away on that bucket list holiday, or just give you some peace of mind over the coming months. For a chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
I wonder if we'd have been higher.
Well, coming up next, are you going to a Christmas party this year? Find out why half of women are giving them a miss.
And we'll be going through that and more with Dr. Rennie Hunderkamp and Nigel Nelson. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now? No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up? About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's 27 minutes past 11. You're watching and listening to Britain's Newsroom. We're live across the United Kingdom with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Gates.
And our panel is back, Nigel Nelson and Dr Rennie Hunderkamp. Who's being a Christmas Grinch about Christmas parties?
I mean, this is this story, isn't it? That half of women and a third of men are worried about their safety, so they're not going to go to a Christmas party. When I first read this story this morning, I just thought, oh, for goodness sake, man up, cupcakes. You know, come on. You know, are we really producing people that are too worried about going out there and keeping themselves safe, just being alert? Or, as Miriam, I think, rightly said, are people just too scared they won't be able to get, you know, a proper taxi home that isn't going to put them at risk?
The answer is just not to get blind drunk when you go out to a Christmas party or a New Year party. But I mean, according to this survey, Brighton, which I always thought was terribly safe, is top of the list. That people are most nervous in Brighton. That's followed by Birmingham and then London. London I can understand. Birmingham I can understand. But Brighton seems to be, I've always thought that is a rather sort of peaceful, environmentally friendly place.
I mean, look, also, this young are not drinking. Are they really getting blind drunk? Because they're not drinking. They're the most boring generation on the planet. And I regularly say they should be having more sex, drugs and rock and roll. They should lighten up and go and live.
I'll be putting a health warning on you.
Yeah. More sex, drugs and rock and roll. In which order in particular?
Any order you want.
OK, yeah.
I feel like we should have a disclaimer on this.
Have you had any nice Christmas party invites, Miriam?
Oh, me? Yes, quite a few.
Yeah, I'm going
But they all always come on the same night, and then you have to choose one, and that's always awkward.
And also, when you do a Saturday night programme on a certain TV channel that doesn't finish till 9, it also makes it quite difficult.
Yes. I've got 2 carol concerts at a Christmas party on the same night, so I'm going to have to be a bit of a heathen and only one carol in each. One carol in each concert, and then on to the party, because it's a very nice party.
Trying not to make it too obvious when you walk out in the middle.
No.
Sort of carol crawl.
A carol crawl. Very good, like very good.
Shall we move on?
Yes.
OBR chiefs quit the night before he was supposed to appear before the Select Committee.
Yes, I'm sure that the government are relieved he won't be appearing now before the Select Committee. However, I think that Richard Hughes had no option but to go. Once the inquiry had come in, I mean, it was a very quick inquiry.
He survived as long as he did. He should have gone the same day.
Well, I mean, I think that it was reasonable to have an inquiry to find out that actually he was effectively to blame.
Yeah,
that it was the system he created that was blamed for it.
He's the boss. You go, don't you take the responsibility?
Yes, of course. However, people usually serve a notice period, and I found it very interesting that literally within seconds of this man resigning, on the UK Parliament website, it said very clearly that he would not be appearing at the Select Committee today. Why not? If he has something useful to add to that committee, why not?
Yes, you don't have to be actively serving a role in order to appear before the committee.
It's very convenient, isn't it? Because he's already put a spoke in there, Will, with his letter.
Yes, and also Nigel and I will for sure disagree about whether she did or didn't mislead, but his evidence could have been devastating for the Chancellor.
Yes,
because he would have been challenged again. What did the OBR tell her? How was she then able to make these wild predictions of swinging tax rises?
And I think when trust in authority is at an all-time low, this kind of thing, where somebody looks like they're being silenced before they might say something damaging, does not help that.
Sorry.
So what's been quite interesting about the investigation was that the OBR's IT facilities leave something to be desired. It's actually a junior person uploading the document onto a WordPress site, which is a kind of website that you can make yourself. They don't have some big IT department with cyber security or anything like that.
No, that's what's extraordinary about it. I mean, hence why I think he had to go, because obviously he was presiding over that particular system. But yes, you'd think the OBR of all places where the stuff there is so market sensitive, so secret, there would have top-of-the-range protections to stop things like this happening.
And yet, and I think this brings it into sharp focus, they want us to believe that we can all have a digital ID that they manage and can keep safe.
Oh, very good point, actually, because we know that they would lose all our material.
Absolutely.
Of course they would.
Well, yeah, I know, but the OBR won't be running digital ID.
Well, hope not. Hope not. Well, it's the public sector, isn't it?
It's the public
That's
sector who proves themselves time and time again incapable of protecting our data. I mean, I would say that if companies like Jaguar can't protect data, the government have got no hope because they're miles behind these other companies.
Can this OBR survive?
Well, they're only a recent creation. I mean, we've managed thousands of years
created by
before.
George Osborne.
15 years?
Yeah, and what's the point of it? Because most of their predictions are wrong.
Yep. The point was that before the OBR was created, the Treasury was making all the forecasts.
Yeah.
And you could argue that they are incentivised to forecast in favour of the government of the time. Anyway, we have to go now, unfortunately.
Sadly.
Sure, we could talk about the OBR all day, but we're not going to. Here's your 60-second news update with Sam Francis.
Very good morning to you, 11:35. Well, major reforms to clear court backlogs today as David Lammy prepares to scale back the number of jury trials. Magistrates could soon hand down sentences of up to 18 months, possibly 24, and a new judge-only courts will handle cases carrying up to 3 years in jail. Juries stay, though, for the most serious crimes, but Tory leader Kemi Badenoch told us she thinks the plans are just another gimmick from a party not ready for government.
It is not the answer. The answer is to just get a grip. They don't know how to do anything. Everything that this government touches is a shambles.
That comes as David Lammy's also admitted 2 prisoners are still at large following a spike in accidental releases. 12 inmates have been wrongly freed in just 3 weeks on top of 91 earlier this year. He says human error in a paper-based system's to blame until prisons finally go digital. A critical week for Ukrainian peace talks. Vladimir Putin will meet US envoy Steve Witkoff in Moscow today. Kyiv insists its sovereignty isn't up for negotiation, though, warning tough issues remain on the table. Here, new laws this week will give immigration enforcement sweeping new powers, including searching phones, coats, and even inside mouths for hidden SIM cards. It's all aimed at tracking down people smuggling gangs behind channel crossings. And UK airports are bracing for the busiest Christmas getaway ever. More than 22 million passengers are expected this month, with Heathrow alone handling over 7 million travellers. Those are the headlines for now. I'll have a full roundup for you at 12.
For all the latest from GB News whilst you're on the go, get the GB News app. Scan the QR code now to download or visit gbnews.com/app.
Well, coming up at noon, we've got Good Afternoon Britain with Tom and Olivia. Welcome to you both. What's coming up on the show?
Well, it is astonishing, isn't it? Just how many prisoners keep getting lost. And we've got a manhunt now on for 2 more of the 12 that went missing over the past 3 weeks. 2 there's an active manhunt for. But the government isn't telling us who they are, what they look like, or how we can help. And let's not forget that when there was a manhunt for 2 previous accidentally released criminals, it was the public who helped find them. So
and the public never got a word of thanks, actually.
That's true.
Thanks, but the member of the public never got any thanks.
That's true. I mean, one of them got caught live on TV cameras. But the extraordinary thing is we're not being told who these people are, despite them being accidentally released from our place.
Lammy's saying he thinks they are not a danger to the public. Thinks isn't good enough.
Well, thanks.
Yeah.
It's like a prison advent calendar, and you go
exactly. I mean, tell us who they are, because he just sounds evasive and shifty.
Very
Don't
shifty.
you think so?
Exactly. Every performance seems more and more shifty. We're also going to be talking about this extraordinary story that 1 in 3 children in Glasgow aren't speaking English as a first language. Now, what's happening is that asylum seekers are being drawn to Glasgow, now the official asylum capital of the UK, because the SNP have made a rule where everyone who is unintentionally homeless gets a house in Glasgow. So people are flocking up to the UK from London, from Belfast, etc., making a home there. And that is why you have this huge population of children not speaking English in schools, which is obviously dragging down the quality of education for Scottish children.
And it's so bad for social cohesion.
Unintentionally homeless.
You get a house in Glasgow. Yeah.
Wow.
It's not to live in Glasgow, mind. No, it's a lovely place. But I do think there is also something here about birth rates amongst native Brits. I mean, it's like two blades of a pair of scissors here. Yes, we've got a lot of refugee families, but also, I mean, native Brits just aren't having children.
Yeah, and if these schools aren't filled by the children of asylum seekers, they're closing down. In Oxford, primary schools are closing down.
Lots in London closing now too.
They can't fill the
Maybe
places.
the birth rate will soar now they're getting rid of the cap on child benefit.
Well, do you know, it's quite interesting because the child benefit cap has arguably had an impact on child poverty, but very little impact actually on fertility rate.
That's a point. If it had an impact on fertility rate, there wouldn't be an issue with child poverty. And yet, if it is an issue with child poverty, it's not an issue with the fertility rate. I mean, why do people make that same argument at the same time?
There is some evidence that it has pushed up abortion rates for people who become pregnant with a third child, but because the number of people who are having a third child is so tiny, then overall as a population, it's not had much impact. But anyway, we could talk about that.
Yeah, but I think there's quite a lot of evidence to say that just throwing money at people isn't actually getting
to the children. Not for the third child, it might for the first. But anyway,
all of that's from them. They'll be here at midday. Now, up next, the daughter of Bim Coley has bravely spoken to GB News about her 80-year-old dad who was horribly killed by a teenager while walking his dog in a local park. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Hello and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Following the washout that was Monday, today's a much drier and brighter day for most of us. Some decent sunny spells out there, albeit with a few heavy showers still knocking about, particularly towards the southwest. We've got low pressure sitting to the north and west of the UK, bringing spells of showers in from the Atlantic, and those showers will be prevalent across the south coast into southwest Wales, as well as some parts of western Scotland. But away from these showery areas, well, some decent blue skies and mostly dry through the Midlands, eastern England, eastern Scotland, parts of Northern Ireland as well. And it's going to be blustery out there. It's going to feel cool, but at least it will be drier and brighter compared with how we've started the week. But the showers will be lively where they occur, and they'll contain hail and thunder in places, particularly around immediate coasts of the south and southwest. They'll make inroads further inland as we go into the evening. Northern Ireland mostly escaping them with clear spells. Northern England, eastern Scotland staying clear as well. Some patchy cloud over the Highlands and Grampians, but showers for Scotland mostly around western and northern coasts. Across England and Wales, though, as the sun goes down, we will see these showers move across, and they'll tend to pop up just about anywhere as the night wears on. But again, some clear spells here and there. North East England, eastern Scotland, seeing temperatures drop away, a touch of frost in some sheltered parts, and a few fog patches as well to wake up to on Wednesday morning. But Wednesday morning, actually, very similar to Tuesday morning. Plenty of bright weather out there. A brisk breeze, yes, around southern and western coast. That's actually going to increase as the day goes on, and further showers, particularly once more around southern and western coast. One or two moving across southern Scotland, but actually, once again, plenty of sunny spells out there.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Well, it's 11:41. You're watching Britain's Newsroom on GB News with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
Well, the daughter of a dog walker who was attacked, you'll remember the story, I'm sure, by teenagers in a park last year, beat him to death, say there were multiple police failures leading up to his death.
Well, Bim Coley was killed walking his dog in Leicester last September, but had reported multiple incidents of antisocial behaviour against him in the months before he died.
Our national reporter Jack Carson has the story.
My dad, unfortunately, had to lose his life before the police took any action.
In September last year, Bim Coley walked his dog into Franklin Park in Braunstone, Leicester. He would never come home. Kicked and punched by a 15-year-old boy, whilst a 13-year-old girl laughed and filmed the attack on her phone, Mr. Coley sustained fractured ribs and a spinal cord injury and died 24 hours later. Now his daughter Susan says failures by Leicestershire police in the months leading up to his death mean it could have been avoided. A pattern of antisocial behaviour began in June 2024, when youths climbed onto a neighbour's garage roof. In July, the harassment escalated, when youths spat at Mr. Coley outside his home. In August, another man was attacked in the park. Susan and her father caught youths throwing stones at the victim, subjecting him to racial abuse and spitting at him. The suspects were identified within 2 days, but no arrests were made until after Bim Coley's death, 17 days later.
They chose to just sit on it and not take the action that they should have when they identified 2 youths causing trouble. When you put a police presence in the area, that puts a deterrent in place because it moves that behaviour on.
The force's own guidance says arrests should be made at the earliest practical opportunity, but the investigating officer blamed workload and a bank holiday. The loss of her father lives with Susan every day, but she believes the attack on him could have happened to anyone.
There's not a day that goes past that we think about it, especially with what happened, because it is a constant reminder for us because of where it happened, virtually on our doorstep, yards from where we live. This might not have been my dad that lost his life. It might have been that guy on the 17th of August. He could have been seriously assaulted if me and my dad did not intervene.
The IOPC investigation concluded there were no missed opportunities and found no individual misconduct. In a statement, Leicestershire Police said, "We only became aware of the full extent of the antisocial behaviour in the area following Mr. Coley's death as a result of the extensive major crime investigation. Although there were some reported incidents of antisocial behaviour in the area, there were no offenders consistently involved and therefore no evidence of a pattern of behaviour prior to Mr. Coley's death." But Susan says accountability must be taken.
People can only learn when you take accountability. It's accepting what went wrong and making that change to ensure it doesn't happen again.
The tragic death of Bim Coley shocked his community and the country. Now his daughter Susan is determined to fight on in his memory. Jack Carson, GB News, Leicester.
Well, it's a very compelling report by Jack Carson. The boy who was 15-year-old at the time of sentencing, the monster who beat this man to death, was sentenced to 7 years youth detention. 7 years, that's it.
I think it's under review for
price of a life. 7 years. And the 13-year-old girl who laughed and filmed it was given a 3-year youth rehabilitation order and subjected to a 6-month curfew. I'm sorry, it's just outrageous.
I do wonder if mobile phones and posting things online is driving some of these crimes. I mean, obviously this is a horrific attack, but even lower level antisocial behaviour, kids are filming it, posting it, trying to get likes and comments.
Well, the girl who filmed it laughing, she's got a community-based rehabilitation, so she's not even she's not even in custody. And he's 7 years, he'll be out in 3.5, won't he?
Well, let's see what you've been saying on gbnews.com/your say. Lots of you commenting on the interview we did with Kemi Baden, not leader of the opposition. Elaine says the Tories would stagnate reform if the two parties unite. Absolutely not. John says, I voted Tory since John Major. I'll never be able to vote Tory again. Christopher says, Kemi Baden can't bring back support just because of 2 good speeches. So it sounds like she's got a way to go.
I think she has. Well, the latest poll puts them level pegging with Labour on 19%. When they lost the general election last July, Miriam, that was the worst result they'd ever had in their lives, on 26%. So they've gone down 7-8% since the last election.
And I think the next election there's going to be a lot of tactical voting because no party actually is on a very high figure. It used to be Tories and Labour were both around 40 for a long time.
But Reform's still comfortably ahead, although they
are on 28.
They have dropped in the last couple of polls, but not much.
Who knows? Right, well, moving on. Dogs in West Sussex need your help. Find out what you can do.
But first, if you're in search of that elusive holiday sun, here's the forecast.
You're looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there. If you're planning on escaping the rain this week, well, unfortunately, there's still some rain affecting the parts of the Mediterranean. High pressure, though, in the Canaries, bringing plenty of dry weather to Madeira, 17 degrees here. Plenty of dry weather also across Spain and Portugal, as well as southern areas of France. However, this wet weather is still moving into parts of Greece, bringing some showers to Santorini through the rest of this week. Looking elsewhere, it does look drier and warmer by the weekend.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
I'm Michelle Dewberry. This is Jubes & Co with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here. GB News, Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection. Tune in to GB News, anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray. Are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines. The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos. What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Welcome back. Holbrook Animal Rescue in West Sussex is fighting to survive. The charity has been caring for and rehoming abandoned animals for 30 years.
Well, GB News reporter Ismail Fekulak joins us now from the animal shelter. It's all yours. Good morning. Oh, look at that lovely dog.
Morning. So earlier today we met a dog called Freddie. He was known as the UK's loneliest dog, and he's lived here for up to 13 years alongside about 30 other dogs, cats, horses, even goats living here at the rescue centre. And this is Essie I am joined by today, and I'm also joined by Laura, who runs the shelter here. So tell us a bit about Essie and how she came to you.
So Essie was a bit of a sad case. Her owner died. She was in the house for a couple of days with him, sadly. And the brother took her and realised she had separation anxiety. So I got a call from the vet quite late at night to say, could you possibly help with this dog? She's too healthy and lovely to put to sleep. So yes, we took her. That was literally a few days ago. And we think we may have found her a home already. So, you know, it's a sort of a quick beginning, middle and end for a dog. They're not normally that quick, but, you know.
And you're looking at relocating here because you're being forced to move. What's the kind of issue with relocating, just quickly?
Inappropriate development, they call it. So quite what rescue centres are supposed to do, I don't know, because we need them so badly. Everybody wants them, and yet they're being shut down all over the place, so...
And just quickly, what could the impact of losing this site and the shelter be to the animals?
It could be terrible. If we're lucky enough to find somewhere else to go, that'll be one scenario. But otherwise, you know, we've got far too many dogs to move.
All right, thank you. We ran out of time, but yeah, a shelter at risk of closure here.
Well, let's hope people rally round Isabel and support it, because animals, we love animals. But remember,
absolutely we do.
Dogs for life, not for Christmas.
Absolutely. Well, that's it from Britain's Newsroom. Up next, we've got Good Afternoon Britain with Tom and Olivia, and we'll see you tomorrow.
See you then.
Not just Tom and Olivia, also with David Lammy. Yes, we'll be hearing from the Justice Secretary live in the House of Commons at past.
Yeah, please don't go away because you won't want to miss that.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. Now, although today will be a drier day, there's still a fair few blustery showers on the way for many western areas. Some sunshine in between, and we've got off to a pretty bright start across the east, and there will be more sunshine on the way for many eastern areas. Further west, though, you can see a plethora of showers moving in from the Atlantic. Some of these will really pack a punch, bringing a risk of hail and thunder, particularly to the south and west. But notice some very heavy showers across the northwest too. Now, temperatures are a degree or so cooler than yesterday, but it will feel that much more pleasant, particularly in any sheltered sunshine across the east. Now, the winds will be quite strong, particularly across northwestern areas close to this small area of low pressure. So that brings an unsettled evening to parts of the Highlands and the Western Isles in particular, where we'll continue to see these showers moving in through this evening. Eastern areas of Scotland, the central belt, seeing plenty of dry weather, some clearer skies developing through this evening, as well as across Northern Ireland. The temperatures will start to fall away. Still quite a lot of cloud around for many central and southern areas of England and Wales, and a number of showers still yet to move through on Tuesday evening. They could come further inland across eastern areas for a time, but overnight tonight it will become clearer and drier for many areas. There will still be a number of showers, particularly across coastal areas, western coasts of the UK. So here there'll be more cloud, will be frost free, but inland sheltered areas could see a touch of frost by Wednesday morning. So a cooler start to the day on Wednesday than today, but more in the way of sunshine to come. A fairly settled day actually for eastern areas. A very different story though for northern Scotland, where this rain will turn to snow over the highest ground. Further south, a mixture of sunshine and showers, particularly across the west, but more in the way of drier weather to come on Wednesday compared to today. And as a result, temperatures will climb to the double digits, 10 or 11 degrees across southwestern areas. See you soon.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the greatest cash prize of a Great British giveaway so far. A simply stunning £85,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like, making 2026 your greatest year to date. That could get you that brand new car, extend and improve your home, take you away on that bucket list holiday, or just give you some peace of mind over the coming months. For a chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.